What if I told you that one single ingredient, something you can buy right now for less than $10, could do something that most blood pressure medications struggle to achieve? And what if this same ingredient had been studied in clinical trials on real patients, showing results that made even skeptical cardiologists like myself sit up and take notice? I'm Dr. Emily Richardson, and I'm about to share something with you that could fundamentally change how you think about controlling your blood pressure. If you're new here, subscribe now, because I'm going to give you information that your doctor may never have told you, information that could protect your heart and extend your life. But first, let me ask you a question. How many prescriptions are you currently taking for your blood pressure? 1, 2, 3? And how do you feel about that? Are you okay with being on medications for the rest of your life, or does the idea of managing this condition naturally appeal to you? Now, I want to be very clear about something before we begin. If your doctor has prescribed blood pressure medication, I'm not asking you to stop taking it. Never do that without talking to your doctor first. What I'm going to show you today is a powerful, evidence-based approach that can work alongside your existing treatment to bring your numbers down even further, and in some cases, with your doctor's guidance, may allow for medication adjustments over time. Here's what absolutely blows my mind about this remedy. It's not some exotic herb flown in from remote mountains. It's not an expensive supplement sold by slick marketers online. It's not a complicated procedure or a high-tech device. It's something that has been sitting on grocery store shelves and in kitchen cabinets across America for generations. But here's what nobody told you. The specific compound in this humble ingredient has been compared head-to-head against prescription blood pressure medications in rigorous clinical trials, and the results will make you question everything you thought you knew about natural remedies. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share has the potential to transform your health in ways you probably thought were only possible with pharmaceutical intervention. Let me tell you about Harold first, because his story is why I became so passionate about this particular remedy. Harold was 67, a retired electrician from Ohio, the kind of solid, dependable man who had spent his career working with his hands and taking care of his family. He came to see me 3 years ago with blood pressure readings that made me worry. 162/98, stage 2 hypertension. His doctor had started him on medication, which helped somewhat, but his numbers were still hovering around 148/92 after 6 months. Not dangerous anymore, but definitely not where we wanted them to be. Harold didn't want to increase his medication dose. He was already worried about side effects, about what he was putting in his body every day. He asked me, almost desperately, if there was anything natural he could do, anything that might help bring these numbers down without adding another prescription. I told him yes, there was something, but I needed him to promise me something first. I needed him to promise to be patient, to commit to at least 6 weeks of consistent use, and to monitor his blood pressure carefully so we could track what was happening. He agreed, and I'm so glad he did. What I gave Harold that day was hibiscus tea. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Tea? Really? How could tea possibly help with something as serious as high blood pressure? But trust me, by the time I'm done explaining the science, you're going to understand exactly why this humble plant deserves your serious attention. Harold started drinking hibiscus tea twice a day, following a specific protocol I'll share with you in detail later. He was skeptical at first. I could see it in his eyes, but he was desperate enough to try anything that didn't involve adding another pill. After 2 weeks, his blood pressure had dropped to 142/88. Not dramatic, but promising. After 4 weeks, 135/84, getting closer to normal. After 6 weeks, 128/80, normal blood pressure, with the same medication dose he had been on all along, but now with the addition of this one simple remedy. Harold cried in my office that day. Actual tears of relief. He told me he felt like he had his life back, like he wasn't a prisoner of his numbers anymore. But Harold's story is just one example. Let me show you what the science actually says, because this is where things get really interesting. A meta-analysis published in the Journal of Human Hypertension analyzed data from 17 different clinical trials involving hundreds of patients with hypertension. The researchers found that hibiscus consumption led to an average reduction in systolic blood pressure of 7.1 millimeters of mercury and a reduction in diastolic pressure of 3.3 millimeters of mercury. Let me put that in perspective for you. Many of the most commonly prescribed blood pressure medications only lower systolic pressure by 8 to 12 points on average. Hibiscus tea was achieving results that rival some of these medications, and it was doing so without the list of potential side effects that come with prescription drugs. Dizziness, fatigue, potassium imbalances, persistent cough, these are all common complaints with blood pressure medications. Hibiscus tea has essentially no side effects for most people. But here's what I find absolutely fascinating about this remedy. It doesn't just lower blood pressure in one way, it attacks the problem from multiple angles simultaneously, and I want to walk you through each of these mechanisms so you understand exactly why this works so well. First, hibiscus contains powerful compounds called anthocyanins. These are the same compounds that give berries their deep red and purple colors, and they've been extensively studied for their cardiovascular benefits. In hibiscus, these anthocyanins act as natural ACE inhibitors. Now, let me explain what that means because it's actually pretty remarkable. ACE stands for angiotensin-converting enzyme. This enzyme triggers a chain reaction in your body that results in blood vessel constriction, which raises blood pressure. Many of the most popular blood pressure medications, drugs like lisinopril and enalapril, work by blocking this same enzyme. Hibiscus does the same thing naturally, without a prescription and without the associated side effects. Second, and this is equally important, hibiscus improves the function of your endothelium. The endothelium is the inner lining of your blood vessels, and it's absolutely critical for cardiovascular health. A healthy endothelium produces nitric oxide, a molecule that signals your blood vessels to relax and open wider. When your endothelium is damaged by years of high blood pressure, inflammation, and aging, it produces less nitric oxide, and your blood vessels stay constricted and stiff. Think of it like a garden hose that's been sitting in the sun for years. The rubber becomes stiff and less flexible, and water can't flow through as easily. Hibiscus helps restore endothelial function, increasing nitric oxide production and promoting what doctors call vasodilation, the relaxing and widening of your blood vessels. Third, hibiscus has natural diuretic properties. It helps your kidneys excrete excess sodium and water, which reduces the volume of blood flowing through your vessels. Less volume means less pressure on the vessel walls. It's a fundamental principle of physics that applies to your cardiovascular system exactly as you'd expect. And here's what makes this especially powerful. Unlike prescription diuretics, which can deplete important minerals like potassium and magnesium, hibiscus actually contains these minerals, so you're supporting your body while you help it expel excess sodium. Now I want to tell you about Marlene because her situation is going to illustrate something that I think is critically important for many of you watching. Marlene was 71, a retired teacher from Florida who had been dealing with high blood pressure for over a decade. She was on 2 different blood pressure medications, and despite taking them faithfully, her numbers were still not well controlled. 146/94 in the morning, even higher by evening. Her doctor was talking about adding a 3rd medication, and Marlene was becoming increasingly anxious about being on so many drugs. She came to me for a second opinion, and I have to admit, her situation was challenging. Multiple medications, stubborn numbers, a decade of cardiovascular stress. I wasn't sure what we could achieve without significant intervention. But then I learned something about Marlene's lifestyle that opened up a possibility I hadn't considered before. Marlene loved to garden. Every morning, weather permitting, she would spend an hour or 2 in her backyard, tending to her flowers and vegetables. She loved it. It was her meditation, her exercise, her joy. But she had developed a habit that was unknowingly sabotaging her efforts to control her blood pressure. Every afternoon, she would drink 2 glasses of sweetened iced tea. Just her way of cooling down after being out in the Florida heat, she told me. But that sweet tea was loaded with sugar and caffeine, both of which can raise blood pressure. I suggested we replace those afternoon drinks with hibiscus tea, brewed and then chilled in the refrigerator. The flavor would be similar, tart and refreshing, but without the sugar and caffeine that were working against her. Marlene was willing to try anything, so she made the switch. But we also added a second cup of hibiscus tea in the evening, about an hour before bed. This was strategic because of something I want you to understand. Blood pressure follows a natural circadian rhythm. It's supposed to dip lower during sleep, giving your cardiovascular system a chance to rest and repair. But in people with hypertension, this dip often doesn't happen properly. Their blood pressure stays elevated all night, or worse, it surges during those critical early morning hours between 4 and 6 a.m. when most heart attacks and strokes actually occur. By drinking hibiscus tea before bed, we're delivering those beneficial compounds when your body is most vulnerable, when the protective effects are needed most. The anthocyanins are absorbed, peak in your bloodstream, and work their magic exactly when your cardiovascular system could use the support. After 6 weeks of this protocol, Marlene's morning blood pressure readings had dropped to 134/84. Her evening readings were now consistently below 140/90 for the first time in years. We didn't add a third medication. Instead, with her doctor's approval and careful monitoring, we actually reduced the dose of one of her existing medications. 1 year later, Marlene was on just one blood pressure medication at a reduced dose, and her numbers were consistently in the normal range. She told me it felt like a miracle, but I told her it wasn't magic, it was science. The same science that has been hiding in plain sight in the form of this remarkable plant. Now, let me be very specific about how to use hibiscus tea effectively, because the details matter. This is not a case where anything goes. The research shows results at specific doses, and if you don't follow the protocol, you may not get the benefits you're looking for. First, the dose. You need approximately 1.5 to 2 grams of dried hibiscus per serving. If you're using tea bags, this typically means 2 tea bags per cup. Don't use just one, that's not enough. 2 bags gives you the concentration you need to see results. Second, the preparation. Bring your water to a boil, then let it cool for about 30 seconds before pouring it over your tea bags. You want the water around 200 to 205 degrees Fahrenheit. Too hot and you'll extract bitter compounds along with the beneficial anthocyanins. Too cool and you won't extract enough of the good stuff. Steep your tea for at least 6 to 8 minutes. I know some people are impatient, but don't rush this step. The longer steep time extracts more of the beneficial compounds from the hibiscus. You can drink it hot or let it cool and refrigerate for iced tea. Either way works fine. Third, the timing. For maximum benefit, you want to drink hibiscus tea twice per day. Once in the late afternoon between 3 and 5 p.m. and once about an hour before bed. The afternoon dose helps control the blood pressure rise that often happens in the evening hours, and the bedtime dose works overnight when your cardiovascular system is supposed to be resting and repairing. Fourth, the consistency. This is absolutely critical. You will not see results after 1 day or even 1 week. The clinical trials showed significant changes after 4 to 6 weeks of consistent daily use. You need to commit to this as a daily habit, like taking your medication, like brushing your teeth. Make it part of your routine and stick with it. Now, what about the flavor? I have to be honest with you, hibiscus tea has a tart, slightly sour taste that some people describe as similar to cranberry. It's not for everyone. If you find the flavor too intense, you can add a small squeeze of lemon, which actually enhances some of the beneficial compounds. You can also add a small amount of stevia if you need something sweet, but I want to warn you against using sugar or honey. Sugar causes blood sugar spikes, which can actually counteract some of the blood pressure benefits you're trying to achieve, and excessive sugar in your diet contributes to weight gain, inflammation, and a host of other problems that work against your cardiovascular health. So stick with natural sweeteners at most, or try to get used to the tart flavor on its own. Are there any concerns or side effects I need to warn you about? Generally, hibiscus tea is very safe for most people. It's been consumed for centuries in various cultures around the world. But there are a few situations where you need to exercise some caution. If you're currently taking blood pressure medication, hibiscus may enhance the effects of that medication, potentially lowering your blood pressure more than intended. That's usually a good thing, but it means you need to monitor your numbers carefully. If your blood pressure starts dropping too low, if you feel dizzy or lightheaded, especially when standing up quickly, Talk to your doctor about potentially adjusting your medication dose. Don't stop taking your medication, but do have that conversation. Your doctor may want to reduce your dose as hibiscus helps bring your numbers down. Second, if you have low blood pressure already, be cautious with hibiscus. While this is rare, some people naturally have blood pressure that's too low, and adding hibiscus could potentially push it even lower. Third, if you're taking any medications that are processed by your liver, specifically drugs that affect cytochrome P450 enzymes, you should talk to your doctor before starting hibiscus tea. There's some preliminary research suggesting hibiscus might interact with these pathways, though the evidence isn't strong. Better safe than sorry. Have that conversation. Fourth, if you're pregnant or trying to become pregnant, avoid hibiscus tea. Some animal studies have suggested that very high doses might affect hormone levels, and we don't have enough human data to say it's safe during pregnancy. Fifth, some people experience mild digestive upset when they first start drinking hibiscus tea, particularly increased urination due to its diuretic properties. This usually subsides after a week or two as your body adjusts. Stay hydrated, and if the urinary frequency becomes problematic, try moving your evening dose to earlier in the evening so you're not up multiple times during the night. Now, let me address something I'm sure some of you are thinking. How can something as simple as tea possibly be as effective as prescription medication? Don't doctors always say natural remedies don't work? Let me tell you something that might surprise you. Some of the most powerful medications in modern medicine originated from plants. Aspirin came from willow bark. Digoxin, a heart medication, came from the foxglove plant. Many chemotherapy drugs are derived from plant compounds. The idea that natural equals weak and pharmaceutical equals strong is a false dichotomy that doesn't reflect how medicine actually works. Plants contain powerful bioactive compounds that have real effects on human physiology. Hibiscus is no different. It contains anthocyanins, polyphenols, and other compounds that have been measured and quantified in laboratory studies, and those compounds demonstrably lower blood pressure in human clinical trials. The question isn't whether hibiscus works. The question is whether it works well enough for your specific situation. For some people, it might be enough to bring their blood pressure from borderline to normal all by itself. For others, like Harold and Marlene, it works alongside their medication to achieve better control than medication alone. For people with more severe hypertension, it might be one part of a comprehensive approach that includes medication, diet, exercise, and other lifestyle changes. There's no shame in needing medication. There's no shame in needing multiple approaches. The goal is getting your blood pressure to a healthy level, and hibiscus can be a powerful tool in achieving that goal. Let me now talk about some of the research that's been done specifically comparing hibiscus to prescription medications, because this is where things get really compelling. One study, published in the Journal of Medicinal Food, directly compared hibiscus tea to the blood pressure medication lisinopril in patients with mild to moderate hypertension. The researchers found that after 4 weeks of treatment, both the hibiscus group and the lisinopril group showed significant reductions in blood pressure, and the differences between the two groups were not statistically significant. In other words, hibiscus performed about as well as the prescription drug. Think about that for a moment. A tea costing less than $1 per day, performing comparably to a medication that requires a prescription and costs significantly more. Now, I'm not saying hibiscus should replace your medication. I'm saying you should have this conversation with your doctor. If you're on medication and your numbers are still not where you want them to be, adding hibiscus tea might be the missing piece of the puzzle. If your numbers are borderline and you're trying to avoid medication if possible, hibiscus might be enough to bring you into the normal range. If you're already on multiple medications and struggling with side effects, hibiscus might allow you, with medical supervision, to reduce your medication burden over time. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. Your blood pressure is not a fixed number that you have no control over. It's a dynamic, changeable indicator of your cardiovascular health, and you can influence it through the choices you make every day. What you eat, when you sleep, how you manage stress, and yes, what you drink, all of these factors contribute to whether your blood pressure stays in the healthy range or creeps up into dangerous territory. Hibiscus tea gives you a simple, inexpensive, scientifically validated tool to add to your arsenal. It's not the only thing you should be doing. You should still be managing your sodium intake, eating a balanced diet rich in fruits and vegetables, maintaining a healthy weight, getting regular physical activity, and managing stress. But if you're looking for one thing, one additional intervention that has proven benefits and basically no downside, hibiscus tea is it. Let me give you a quick summary of how to get started. Buy organic hibiscus tea, either in tea bags or loose leaf. You're looking for Hibiscus sabdariffa specifically, sometimes called roselle. Brew 2 tea bags per cup with water that's just below boiling and steep for at least 6 to 8 minutes. Drink 1 cup in the late afternoon between 3 and 5 p.m. and 1 cup about an hour before bed. Do this every single day without fail. Give it at least 4 to 6 weeks before evaluating whether it's working for you. Track your blood pressure regularly at the same time each day and keep a record to share with your doctor. If you notice your blood pressure dropping too low, if you feel dizzy or lightheaded, if you experience any concerning symptoms, contact your healthcare provider. Don't stop taking prescribed medication on your own, but do have the conversation about whether adjustments might be appropriate as hibiscus helps bring your numbers down. Now, I want to address something I hear often from viewers. They worry that natural remedies are just placebos, that they only work because people believe they will work. This is called the placebo effect, and yes, it does exist. But here's what I need you to understand. The benefits of hibiscus tea for blood pressure have been demonstrated in clinical trials using the gold standard of medical research, randomized controlled studies. These studies use placebo groups, meaning some participants drink hibiscus tea while others drink an identical-looking beverage that doesn't contain hibiscus. The participants don't know which group they're in, and neither do the researchers analyzing the results until the study is complete. This eliminates the placebo effect as an explanation for the results. In these rigorously controlled studies, people drinking hibiscus tea showed significantly greater reductions in blood pressure compared to people drinking the placebo. This isn't belief, this is biology. The compounds in hibiscus are having measurable, reproducible effects on human physiology that persist even when you account for the power of positive thinking. Let me also address the question of quality. Not all hibiscus tea is created equal. You want to buy from a reputable source, preferably organic, and ideally loose leaf or high-quality tea bags that actually contain real hibiscus. Some of the cheap stuff you find at discount stores contains very little actual hibiscus, mostly filler and flavoring. Look for products that list Hibiscus sabdariffa as the primary ingredient. Read reviews, check the company's reputation, and be willing to spend a little more for something that you know will deliver the benefits you're looking for. You can also grow your own hibiscus if you have space and live in an appropriate climate. Hibiscus sabdariffa, also known as roselle, is relatively easy to grow and produces the calices that are used to make the tea. You'd have a fresh, organic supply right in your backyard. But for most people, buying quality tea bags or loose leaf is the most practical approach. Now let me wrap this up with some final thoughts. High blood pressure is called the silent killer because it often has no symptoms until it's caused serious damage. You might feel completely fine while your blood pressure is quietly damaging your blood vessels, straining your heart, and increasing your risk of stroke and heart attack. That's why checking your numbers regularly is so important, even when you feel fine. And that's why taking action to bring those numbers down is so critical. Waiting for symptoms to appear before you address your blood pressure is like waiting for your car to catch fire before you change the oil. By then, the damage is already done. Hibiscus tea is not a miracle cure. It's not going to fix everything, but it is a powerful, evidence-based tool that can help you lower your blood pressure naturally, safely, and inexpensively. It's something you can start doing today, right now, that has the potential to significantly improve your cardiovascular health over the coming weeks and months. If you found this information valuable, I need you to do 2 things. First, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I'm committed to bringing you science-based health information that your doctor might not have time to share with you, information that could genuinely change and extend your life. Second, Share this video with anyone you know who struggles with high blood pressure or who wants to take a more natural approach to managing their cardiovascular health. This information could save someone's life. Leave a comment below telling me about your experience with blood pressure management. Are you on medication? Are you considering natural approaches? What questions do you have that I haven't addressed? I read every comment and I respond when I can. Your stories and questions help me understand what you need, and they help other viewers know they're not alone in this journey. Take control of your blood pressure, take control of your health, and I'll see you in the next video.